You will not believe how this 100-meter race actually ended, because the man everyone expected to win was not even close to first place when the dust settled, and the reason why is something nobody saw coming. Before I tell you what happened, I need you to understand just how loaded this race really was, because this was not some random Diamond League heat. This was basically a mini World Championship final packed into one-lane assignment. And by the end of this video, you're going to find out exactly who fell apart under pressure, who showed up with something to prove, and who almost got caught from 20 meters behind in a finish so close that even slow motion replays struggled to separate the bodies. Stick with me, because the final 40 meters of this race is genuinely one of the craziest stretches of sprinting you will see this season, and I promise the ending is going to surprise you. Before we get into it, if you love track and feel breakdowns like this, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because we break down every major sprint race, every shocking upset, and every record chase as soon as it happens. And trust me, you do not want to miss what is coming later in this video. Okay, let's set the scene. This is a Paris Diamond League meeting, and the men's 100-meter field assembled here is about as stacked as it gets outside of a global final. You've got Jordan Anthony, the reigning world indoor 60-meter gold medalist, a man with blistering early speed. You have got Trayvon Bromel, a sprinter with a personal best of 9.76 seconds, who is no stranger to big moments. You have got Ferdinand Omenala, sitting on a personal best of 9.77, a serious threat on his day. You have got Akani Simbine, a veteran of championship finals who always seems to be in the mix. You have got Jeremiah Azu, a rising talent looking to make a statement. You have got Lamont Marcell Jacobs, the Tokyo Olympic champion, who has been fighting his way back to top form. And then, of course, you have got Noah Lyles. Now, here's where the story gets interesting, because this is not just any track for Noah. This is the exact same Paris track where, back at the 2024 Olympic Games, he produced one of the most dramatic finishes in Olympic history, edging out Kishane Thompson by a margin so small it took what felt like an eternity to confirm on the scoreboard, with both men clocking 9.79 seconds. That race is still considered the closest 100-meter final in Olympic history, and now Noah is stepping onto that very same track for the first time since that legendary night. He arrives with an undefeated season behind him and a season's best of 9.88, and a lot of people watching this meet were already calling the heavy favorite before the gun even fired. But here's the twist nobody was talking about enough, and it is the kind of detail that changes everything once you know it. Just days before this race, Trayvon Bromel had gone head-to-head with Oblique Seville, the man who had run the fastest time in the world this entire season, at 9.82, and Bromel beat him. That is not a small result. That is a man entering this race with serious momentum and zero fear of the names next to him on the start list. And do not sleep on Lamont Marcell Jacobs either, because earlier this season in Rome, he dipped under 10 seconds for the first time since his Olympic gold run, clocking 9.99, and reminding everyone that the old Jacobs might be coming back. There was one more factor working in the background that nobody could control, and that was the weather. Paris was baking under temperatures pushing past 100 degrees Fahrenheit that week. Now, for distance runners, that kind of heat is brutal and usually slows things down. But for sprinters, extreme heat often means looser muscles, faster reaction times, and the kind of conditions where fast times become very possible. So as these athletes walked out to the blocks, there was a real sense that something special might be about to happen, and honestly, nobody in that stadium had any idea just how tight this finish was actually going to be. Now stay with me here, because this next part is where things start to unravel in a way almost nobody predicted. The gun goes off, and immediately something strange happens. Noah Lyles, the man tipped as a favorite, falls back significantly over the opening 20 to 30 meters. This is not unusual for him, since he is known as a strong finisher rather than an explosive starter, but the gap he was facing here looked bigger than usual. Out in front, it was Jordan Anthony and Trayvon Bromel, who exploded away from the field. By the time they hit 60 meters, Bromel was already fly with an absolutely blistering split of 6.39 seconds, with Jordan Anthony right on his heels at 6.42. Akani Simbine followed in 6.45, and then, almost identically, both Noah Lyles and Lamont Marcell Jacobs crossed that same 60-meter mark together at 6.46. If you know anything about Noah Lyles, you know what usually happens next. With splits like that behind him, every instinct in your body says he is about to come flying to the field and snatch this race away in the final 40 meters, just like he has done so many times this season. And for a moment, it genuinely looked like exactly that was unfolding. But this time, something different happened. Trayvon Bromel did not fold. He did not fade. He held his form. He held his lean, and he held off the closing charge of Noah Lyles all the way to the line, crossing first in 9.91 seconds. Noah Lyles finished second, just 1/100th of a second behind, in 9.92. Lamont Marcell Jacobs continued his comeback story with a strong 9.96 for third. Akani Simbine was right there too, finishing in 9.97. And Jordan Anthony, despite getting outpaced in that brutal 60-meter battle up front, still managed to dip under 10 seconds himself, crossing in 9.99. Now here's what makes this race so wild when you actually look at the data. If you study the speed breakdown through the opening 30 to 40 meters, there's barely any separation between these athletes at all. It is essentially a blur of bodies moving at nearly identical speeds. The one visible shift comes around the 30 to 40 meter mark, where Noah Lyles genuinely starts pulling away from the pack in his typical late race surge. But despite that surge, the distance to leader chart shows something remarkable. Trayvon Bromel held the lead from essentially the very first strides out of blocks all the way to the finish line. At the 4-second mark, Noah Lyles was actually sitting in last place. Think about that for a second. The man considered the favorite, the man who has erased deficits like this all season long, was dead last just 4 seconds into the race. By 5 seconds, he started closing. By 6, 7, and 8 seconds, he kept eating into that gap. And then right at the finish, the margin shrank to almost nothing, close enough that for a brief moment, nobody in that stadium was entirely sure who had actually won. And that is the part of the story I really want you to sit with, because so much of the build-up to this race was about Jordan Anthony and Noah Lyles trading words online, both of them talking up their chances, both of them expected to be the headline story. But in the end, it was Trayvon Bromel, a man many had quietly written into the conversation, but rarely put at the very top of it, who delivered the performance of the day. This was not a fluke either. This was just the latest entry in a career full of comebacks, setbacks, and remarkable resilience, and it is honestly hard not to see him as one of the most inspiring stories in sport right now, when it comes to staying at the top for this long. So if you are wondering whether this changes anything heading into the rest of the season, whether Noah Lyles needed this loss as a wake-up call, or whether Trayvon Bromel just proved he belongs in every single major conversation from here on out, make sure you stay subscribed, because we're going to be tracking exactly how each of these athletes responds in their very next race. And based on what we are hearing, the next showdown between these two might happen sooner than anyone expects. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.